give people a little time to keep rolling in. But for now, let's just do our thing. Let's let the dust settle and just kind of land in the rhythm of this moment right here, right now. I think it helps first to recognize how much of the rhythm that's present is just caused by things we've dragged forward into this moment from our day, from our past, sometimes even from our future, just future fears and concerns. And all of that has to just be relinquished in order to step into this moment. So let's do that now. No technique, just open up to what's right in front of you. And as you do that, notice what you're feeling in your bodies. What does your body feel like in this moment? For anyone just coming in, we're just sinking into this moment, just taking it in. Kind of let the focus of your eyes go soft so that you can just take in the whole room at once. It's a shift from having your attention going from this thing to this thing to this thing to this thing, to just taking it all in at once, just letting it all hit your consciousness at once. That puts you smack dab in the center of the moment and even helps to quiet the mind. Now I think tonight, just to help ground ourselves a little bit, we're going to start with the moving up and down the mountain technique. So you have three kind of centers of energy where you're going to place your attention. One is right here. One is at the heart. And then the other is down just below the navel. This is the upper center, the middle center, and the lower center. And we're just going to start shifting our attention between those centers. The reason I'm doing this is because I notice that there's just a vibration of anxiety. I don't know if it's coming from you, or if it's coming from someone else I'm connected to. But let's even that out. And the way you do that is you actually kind of find yourself centered and awake at these 3 points in your body. So let's start at the head center, placing your attention at the forehead and crown. Just begin to watch your breath and just be at that center. Just let your attention release to that upper center. Nothing to do, nothing to understand. Just direct your awareness to the upper center. Forehead, crown, back of the head, all of it at once. You can even imagine a ball of light up there, just to give you somewhere to place your attention. Now on your next inhale, bring your attention from the upper center down into the center of your heart. And just yield more and more of yourself to the heart center. That's good. Let it be as simple as it is. just be at the heart. Feel yourself centered at the heart. And let everything else just flow freely. Nothing to control. Nothing to conquer. And nothing to mess up. Now on your next exhale, drop down to the lower center. This is just a big ball of energy just below the navel. It encompasses your abdomen, your pelvic floor. Sink into this denser energy and just be with it cleanly. On your next inhale, rise back up to the heart center. Feel yourself at the center of the heart. Whenever you place your attention on something, you direct energy to it. You direct your power to it. Your personal power, your sense of identity. Direct your power to the simplicity of the heart. It's okay if it's damaged. It's okay if it's dirty. Because whenever you direct your energy to something cleanly, whenever you give something your attention without any sense of manipulation, but just attention, it begins the process of waking up, healing, and becoming clean. We're going to run through these again. On your next inhale, raise your attention back up to the head center. And now that your energy is cleaning up, while you practice this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about these centers. But first, anchor yourself at the head center. Let go of everything else. Just be at the upper center. The job of the human being is to be the balancing point between heaven and earth. By heaven, I just simply mean the part of you that is purely spiritual before it became clouded over with the things of this world. The part of you that is eternal, self-existent, the part of you that doesn't need an internal dialogue to hold it in place. It's what's there when you let go of everything else. That's the heaven center. Give your attention to that center now. That center is above the mess of life. It's unstained, unmarred by the life you've lived, unstained by any of your mistakes. It's undamageable. You can come to a place where you're not able to put your attention there easily, but it's still always there. It's where you come from. Always pure, always clean. And it's a place in which you can take refuge when you need a break from your life. It's the real you. Now let's sink down into the heart center. On your next inhale or exhale, whatever feels more comfortable to you. This is the true center of the human experience, the balancing point between heaven and earth. It's the place where thoughts become emotions. It's also a place where we connect with the feeling body of the world around us. One of the places, one of the higher places. This is the place that closes whenever you feel any resistance to the moment in front of you. Let go of your resistance now and feel what that does to the heart. Show yourself that right now. Just let go. few of you have a little bit of a storm in your heart. Just go ahead and be with that storm. Don't ask it to be anything different. Just give it your unconditional attention. Unconditional attention. It can be whatever it needs to be, and it can become whatever it needs to become. Interesting how it clears it up, doesn't it? Just letting go of the fight and accepting what's there. Gives it the power to clear itself up. That's the power of acceptance, the power of non-manipulation. Now sink down into the lower center. This is the earth center. This is the physical. Give your attention to that deep, rich earth center. Let it show itself to you. Don't tell it what it is. Just give it your attention, unconditional attention. Feel the richness of the physical. The physical is not less than the spiritual. If you can give it your attention unconditionally, without putting a story on it, you can experience the purified physical. It's the same power, it's just denser. And it's just as divine. Let's rise back up to the heart. The tensile balance point between heaven and earth. The place where you can really show up for your life. Ready to engage. One of you's getting a little scared. I want you just to be with the fear. It's okay. Give your attention to the heart and be with whatever feeling is there. Unconditional attention. This is what is truly meant when a spiritual path speaks of unconditional love. But most people don't understand what's meant by that. The road to understanding that is unconditional attention. Clean attention with no priority, no motive. Be with it without judgment. Good. Nothing to fix. Nothing to change. You just share your presence with what's there. And the vehicle of that sharing is your attention. How simple it all is. We make it so complicated, but it's really so simple. And rise up to the heaven center. Enjoy the clear skies above it all, that place above the clouds of your life. Okay, let's come out and let's just talk a little bit. You feel better, no? Unconditional attention solves a lot of problems all at once. And the reason it does that is it takes you out of all the roles that you're playing in life. It collapses the story. And because the problems that you feel inside really are just a matter of a temporary role that you're giving your attention to, when you take your attention off of it in a way that doesn't involve avoidance, it all clears right up. Most people never leave the story they're in. Their attention is just hopping around to different roles that they're playing within their life story. When you're in a role of a life story, you're very, very vulnerable. And the reason you're vulnerable is because those roles are basically the mechanism through which all of life manipulates you. When you approach life from a place of manipulation yourself, and by manipulation, I don't always mean something as egregious as trying to rob somebody of their will. Sometimes there are subtle robbings of will that we've talked about in the past. But anytime you look at the moment in front of you and just start insisting on things, needing everything to be different, or maybe you don't even have the personal power to insist with your words, but you just silently reject it through despair, or silently reject it through your anger, or through your anxiety. All of that is manipulation. And when you manipulate, that is when you are actually vulnerable to being manipulated. Because to do that, you have entered into a power struggle with life. And so someone has to be the victim and someone has to be the victimizer. That's the story. You can't have one without the other. You can't have a sinner without a saint. You can't have a victimizer without a victim. Those roles live in the world of duality. They live in the world of opposites. And if you're playing one, I guarantee you, you're on your way to becoming the other. And then you'll bounce back. And you'll go back and forth, victimizer, victimized, victimizer, victimized. Sinner, saint, sinner, saint. You know, in a power struggle, the one who wins in a lasting way is the one who's not struggling. If you let go of the struggle and just be with what's in front of you cleanly, you will no longer be manipulated by the feelings of the things of your world. Now, as good as you get at that and as clear as you get with your wisdom, you are in a world where you have to interact with the story. So you will step into roles. You will look up at some point and realize you're being victimized. But the answer in that moment is not to just fight back. The answer, first, step one, is to open right up to it, to just be with it cleanly. You know, in lower spiritual terms, people have described that as seek to understand rather than be understood. But that just happens automatically when you can just be with it without demanding that it be something different. And then from that place, you have the power to decide how you interact with what's in front of you. If you're in a place where manipulation reigns, then you got to leave that place. And that's your prerogative. You can make those decisions. You don't have to be victimized. If the consequences of leaving do something that's unacceptable, then you can stand up and decide to make your voice heard, but you don't do it from a place of manipulation. You just don't play the role that you're being asked to play. but the clarity and the power to reject the role that you're being asked to play comes from first ceasing the fight of what's in front of you. What does that mean? It means instead of pushing it away and resisting it, where you can barely even do anything about it because you're so busy pushing it away, you first let it fill the space. Let it be there. Give it room so that you can really be with it. Now, 8 times out of 10, that alone will change how the person who is doing the victimizing responds and reacts to you. You know, there's a difference between calling something out, saying, "You absolutely will not do this to me," and saying, "I'm feeling manipulated right now, and it's making me uncomfortable, and I was wondering if we could just talk about that." But saying it from a place of power, not power struggle, but just the power of being centered in yourself. Saying, "Hey, I see what's happening here, and I'd like for us to just have an honest conversation about it." If you can do that, things change. But it starts with unconditional attention. You have to be willing to let it actually touch you, and you have to be willing to touch it. It can't be so unacceptable that you have to push it away. You can't let yourself be so scared of it. So, a teaching, like moving up and down the mountain, gives you the skills to practice that in a really safe way. And what you're doing is you're literally bringing the clarity of what's up here down into the mess. And at first it feels like a mess, but what you come to show yourself is that when you can just place your attention on it cleanly, without pushing anything away, what's actually there is already clean. It's just the stories you're telling on top of it that get messy. You let them go and you find you're right where you want to be. And then you take that into your life. And you find a way to practice it. Any teaching I hand you, you have to ask yourself, what is the do of this teaching? How do I live it? Knowledge that can't be lived is useless. Doesn't matter how spiritual it sounds. My advice to you this month is find a way to live this at least once a day. Walk into your day with an eye out for what kind of dynamic exists that you could clean up with unconditional attention. What kind of resistance have you been holding on to that you could make a point of really stepping into cleanly? If you do that every day, your spiritual wisdom, that knowledge that you have that is real, will grow so rapidly, you'll be a different person by the end of the month. So that would be my wish for you. This month, make that a part of everything. Make that at least a part of one thing a day in your actual life. Thank you, Eladine. Are there any questions or concerns or comments about that? Good, Sarah. Of course it was meant for you, Marcy. I never know what we're going to talk about, so I always just speak to the energy in front of me. But it wasn't just you. A lot of people, I think, needed to hear this tonight. But the thing is, when you can open up like that and really just be with what's in front of you, that's how spiritual teachings come forward. If you can master that skill, then you have that to offer people. So, Sarah, if you think you're going to have a hard time remembering, find a way to set a reminder. One of the most annoying things about me when I was early in my training is I had a little alarm on my watch back then that would go off every 10 minutes. And that was my signal to check in and make sure that I was working on the things I had promised I was going to work on that day. That's right, spirituality skill reminders. It's, because nothing else in life asks it of you. So you do have to find ways to thread this through your day. Just like we had to find a way to bring that energy down the mountain, you have to find a way to bring these teachings and thread them through your life. It's an amazing resource that you have. And it's like you can either take little pieces of it and then let it slip away and then remind yourself, or you can really take it as far as it can go. Why not see how far this can go? You guys come here because you feel good when you come here. This stuff actually makes you feel better. You feel more clear, you sleep better, and it helps you build on a better life. So why not go further? All right, everybody. All right, I'm going to let you all get back to your night. I haven't eaten much today, so I need to go get some dinner. But thank you all for being here, and I will be here again next week. Thank you. Good night.